Hikichi took the same train every morning. One day, he noticed a girl from another school who soon became a familiar face. He wanted to ask her name but never found the courage, and even other passengers could feel his hesitation. Among them was an elderly man who silently rooted for him. What Hikichi didn't know was that this quiet support began months earlier, when another regular passenger noticed his eyes always drawn to the same girl. Nayu-jin, always in her high school uniform, stood in the same spot and boarded the train at the same time as Hikichi. His glances toward her were never by chance. 3 months ago, on his usual morning ride, he searched the carriage and spotted her again. An older passenger noticed his restless gaze. Then, 2 months ago, his heart raced when she sat beside him. He kept his face calm, hiding the smile he wanted to show. An older passenger guessed the boy was in love with the girl, and the idea quietly spread through the carriage. The manager messaged another rider, wondering why he hadn't confessed yet, noting that love needed action. A nearby office lady teased that suspense made it better. Over time, this silent routine became a shared story among the regulars, until the office lady mentioned she might take a different train tomorrow. A university student remarked that confessions from strangers were often vague. The manager jokingly offered to practice one for the boy, catching bits of their words and noticing their glances. Ikichi guessed they meant him. His eyes returned to the girl beside him, her Rakudo high school uniform suggesting she might graduate by spring. Before that day came, he knew he had to speak to her at least once. The manager mused that if they knew each other, talking would be easier and Nayu-jin might speak to him naturally. Realizing the boy was the subject, he asked how many there were, prompting a teasing reply from the office lady. Ikichi's mind spun. He wanted to talk to Nayu-jin but didn't know how, especially when everyone else seemed to do it so easily. Ikichi nervously commented on a passenger's keychain. The man smiled, calling it his lucky charm. Their brief chat somehow drew Nayu-jin into the conversation. Surprised, Hikichi watched as she admitted she'd started playing the game because it was trending but had grown to genuinely enjoy it. The man kindly told her that reasons didn't matter, only that she liked it. His warm words left the passengers quietly moved. Hikichi jokingly called it destiny and invited the old man to play the game with him. The manager, overhearing, hinted the boy's interest might be more than the game, but the office lady disagreed, noting he didn't even have the girl's contact yet. She said the next move was up to Nayu-jin. A university student then teased the old man for being so excited. The office lady accused the manager of arrogance, but he clarified his words were aimed at the old man, sensing something odd about the scene. She dismissed him, and the student stared out the window, wondering if that was all the morning had to offer. In a candid moment, he admitted feeling excited when he thought someone spoke to him. Meanwhile, Nayu-jin shyly confessed she'd been thrilled to play the game with them, but now felt embarrassed. The next morning, Hikachi found himself beside her again, 3 days in a row. The air felt awkward after their last exchange, yet he was glad to see her. Passengers glanced at her, their thoughts unreadable. He had thought she'd avoid sitting next to him, making this moment feel both strange and oddly convenient, perhaps tied to the earlier empathy seat incident. He noticed she'd chosen the same seat again, making his cheeks warm as he doubted anyone would want to sit beside him. Across the bus, the manager thought the boy was still clueless and that her feelings would be clear one day, but not yet. Nayu-jin sat tense, remembering when she thought he was talking to her. The excitement of joining their game had turned to quiet embarrassment, knowing it had only been in her heart. The manager, a student, and an office lady quietly discussed the pair. The student guessed it might be unrequited love, while the office lady noted the girl's unusually serious demeanor. The manager admitted he'd been frustrated that morning when the boy didn't even try to talk to her. Across the aisle, a student wondered if the encounter was truly accidental, but the office lady disagreed. They quietly discussed Hikachi and Nayu-jin, comparing it to waving at someone by mistake. The student thought her embarrassment could mean nothing or everything, while the office lady noted Hikachi hadn't approached her, which she suspected Nayu-jin might actually like. Hikachi gazed out the window, unsure if she felt the same way. Fear of rejection weighed on him, though he knew his feelings were real. Nearby, the office lady made a cryptic comment, while the university student hoped it was mutual affection, yet suspected someone had come between them. The manager ended the gossip, saying he didn't want to hear more. The office lady agreed but found the timing suspicious, noting love often grows from misunderstandings. She hoped she was wrong, joking it made her want a drink. The manager insisted he's never wrong. Hikachi sat in silence, wishing he could confess but lacking the courage. To her, he feared he was just another stranger. He wondered if being better at gaming might have brought them closer. He noticed a note tucked in Nayu-jin's book. Pulling it out, he read words confessing affection. His eyes widened in surprise, while the manager and passengers froze in stunned silence. Akachi quickly realized he misread the book's title and felt embarrassed. Nearby, the office lady doubted the old man's clarity, while the manager admitted he'd also misunderstood after reading it. Hikachi saw Naojin's friend pass by, frown, and warn her to be careful about walking while reading. The next morning at the station, Naojin nearly tripped on an uneven tile. Before she could fall, Hikachi caught her, his concern evident. She assured him she was fine, though her heart raced from the sudden closeness. She straightened, secretly thinking Hikachi felt like a novel's hero. The manager, curious about her feelings, grew impatient. Nearby passengers chuckled, telling him to wait. When the moment came, he'd know, and they were sure she loved him. Hikachi sat at his desk, annoyed at himself for staying up so late. Then it hit him. He'd forgotten his English homework. If he failed, there'd be no excuse. Determined, he vowed to finish it, even if it meant no sleep, and still catch his usual train right on time. The next morning, Hikachi dozed off, his head resting on Naojin's shoulder. Without noticing, she leaned slightly against him. Passengers exchanged surprised glances, blushing at the sight, while Naojin kept her gaze forward, her heart pounding. Hikachi woke with a start, quickly apologizing, while Naojin shook her head, cheeks flushed. Embarrassed, he wondered if he'd leaned, or worse, drooled on her. An old man's chuckle spread quiet amusement through the train. Hikachi, embarrassed, vowed not to fall asleep on her again, but moments later he did. His head rested on her shoulder once more, drawing surprised murmurs from the watching passengers. Hikachi jolted awake, relieved he hadn't leaned on her this time. But with the warm sunlight, perfect weather, and gentle sway of the train lulling him, he knew sleep might win again, so he vowed to rest against the window instead of her shoulder. The old man teased Hikachi for sitting by the window, calling it a waste. As the train clattered on under golden sunlight, Hikachi battled sleep, his head bobbing while nearby passengers watched in anticipation. A student complained that Hikachi was being too polite, while an office lady teased that the sweet moment between him and the girl was being wasted. The student insisted they just had to wait for the perfect moment. When the manager asked what he meant, the student whispered that it would happen right after the tunnel's sharp curve. An old man teased if the boy was a modern romantic, while a student grinned, saying the moment was fate. As the train entered a dark tunnel and swayed, Hikachi's resolve crumbled. His head gently found its way back onto Naojin's shoulder. Gasps and muffled laughs filled the carriage as Hikachi, half asleep, unknowingly gave the crowd the moment they'd been waiting for. But when he straightened up before leaning on her, their excitement quickly turned to disappointment. Hikachi sat across from her, convinced he'd ruined everything. Though she'd chosen to sit beside him again, he feared she disliked his closeness, and might avoid him in the future. Before he could apologize, Naojin calmly mentioned their stop was near. He thanked her and she replied softly, "It's nothing." Hikachi noticed Naojin's cheeks flush as she hid behind her book, the first time she'd spoken to him. His heart raced, and though he tried to act casual, he couldn't help wondering if she felt the moment too. Naojin wondered if Hikachi thought she was odd, but reminded herself it was normal to know someone stop after riding together daily. Hikachi thought the same. An old man beamed at her knowing his station, the office lady gasped, asking if she'd missed their first words, and if anyone had recorded it. The university students groaned, telling everyone to stop and banning any filming. Hikachi's eyes caught sight of the cancer sign on the fortune board. The number one fortune of the day was cancer. He frowned slightly, wondering what could happen on a day like this, questioning how many people even had the cancer sign, and thinking there was no way it could matter. Yet a faint sense of anticipation stirred in him, as if the universe had handed him a hidden advantage. He told himself that something would happen this morning. That was why he had come earlier to catch his train. Standing there, he worked to calm his thoughts, reassuring himself that thanking her would be perfectly normal and not strange at all. He resolved that if Naojin approached him first today, he would thank her for yesterday. He told himself he wanted to become closer to the person beside him, to gather the courage to take the first step forward. Even if it ended in a small mistake or a misunderstanding, he believed there was something between them. That courage felt entirely real. He decided he had to speak, to thank Naojin for yesterday and wish her good morning. Just as he leaned toward her, a passenger slipped into the seat beside Naojin. Hikachi froze, expecting the familiar face, only to see an old man. Despair and disbelief crashed over him as he thought he had been mistaken. The old man smiled and teased about the coincidence of sharing the same train, mentioning the Genshin game. Hikachi had not expected him to sit there, and his plan unraveled. His courage vanished. Nearby, a university student muttered that this was the worst-case scenario and that the old man would sit next to the boy every morning from now on. To the student, this was no small matter. It was the largest problem imaginable. The old man and the office lady overheard, their faces shifting to shock and distress. The office lady lamented that it was terrible, calling the boy and girl their morning motivation and source of refreshment. The student agreed solemnly, stating that the boy must be in a panic and unable to speak, calling it dangerous. The student leaned toward the old man and asked if he had played the game's time-limited event and seen the ending of the second act. Hikachi then admitted softly that it was kind of nice, saying that although people around him who play usually like different characters, that difference was fun in its own way. Beside him, Naeujin's fingers trembled slightly as she thought that she could talk a lot about Genshin too, her voice caught inside her mind. The student noticed her movement and whispered to the manager, pointing out that the girl was trembling and asking if she was angry because the boy was only talking about the game. The manager smirked, saying it was the moment to think only about one's favorite character. Hikachi then commented to the old man that the gap between Genshin's cool, mission-driven side and her shy side made the game feel even better. From behind them, Naeujin thought that he always talked about this game always. She imagined that if she had the courage, she would speak to him every morning just like that. The old man chuckled and said that next time they rode the train together, he would love to play with him, and asked if he wanted to play. Everyone froze, and even Naeujin lifted her head at the words. The old man continued, asking if Hikachi always took the train at the same time every morning, saying that if so, he would like to match his schedule. The university student remarked that the choice was up to the boy. Hikachi replied that he did take the train every morning at that time, then hesitated and admitted with a small laugh that it was not exactly every morning, only a few times a month. He then wondered if that girl had just turned around, or if it was his imagination. The thought lingered in his mind as the train rattled forward. The next day, Naeujin felt like a complete fool. She had truly tried to sit beside him, but as soon as she stepped toward the seat, a wave of embarrassment crashed over her. Her legs faltered, her resolve crumbled, and she quickly sat elsewhere, unable to face him. For a while, she could not bring herself to sit next to him at all, the thought alone making her chest tighten and her cheeks burn. Across the carriage, the office lady and the manager noticed her strange behavior. They exchanged knowing glances and spoke about Naeujin's timid attempts. The office lady remarked that she had tried again that day. The manager chuckled, saying she had failed spectacularly. Others in the carriage began to notice as well. Soon, all eyes seemed to drift toward her, as if silently wondering whether she would ever manage to sit next to him. The following day began under a tense air, though to Hikachi the heaviness felt unnecessary. He remained silent, immersed in his own thoughts, letting the carriage's noise wash over him. Passengers around him chatted idly, their conversations drifting aimlessly until an office lady's words cut through, noting the irresistible scent of an egg muffin somewhere nearby. The manager laughed lightly, remarking that there was no need to search for whoever had brought it. Hikachi kept his head down, but each comment felt directed toward him, as if unspoken eyes were on him. Then the entire carriage seemed to pause for a breath, caught by some invisible shift. Naeujin's thoughts froze in sudden realization. She was sitting directly beside him and had completely forgotten it until now. Hikachi's mind mirrored her surprise. For a fleeting second, he thought the earlier remark about the muffin had been aimed at him. That could not be the case, yet the thought lingered. He questioned why he was even sitting there when he had already eaten a heavy breakfast. In ordinary moments, the situation might have been embarrassing. Yet here, beside her, it felt entirely different, though he could not simply voice his feelings. Around them, the quiet murmur of the manager and nearby passengers reached Naeujin's ears. Their tones were careful, as though no one wanted their own stomach growls to betray them. She too wanted to eat, but she concealed the thought. The office lady broke the tension with a small smile, calling the situation a good development. The manager agreed, clearly enjoying the turn of events. Then the office lady's expression shifted, as if recalling a hidden danger, warning that they too could be exposed if they acted similarly. The manager remained calm, suggesting that all one needed was to cool down. Yet the air was heavy with the rich aroma of food, a perfectly cooked egg, juicy meat, and sauce mingling in a way that demanded attention. It was impossible to ignore. Eventually, Naeujin brought out her own food, but when she opened the box, Hikachi felt a wave of empathy rise within him. The manager's voice carried across the carriage, noting in mock concern that she seemed to have nothing to eat. A university student nearby proposed that the perfect solution was to fight off hunger without drawing attention. The office lady eyed him suspiciously, questioning why he was staring at his lunchbox. The manager turned toward Hikachi, warning that if he ate now, there would be nothing left for lunch. The university student quickly added that doing so would make him the one responsible for the enticing smell. Hikachi silently felt relief that, this time, he would still get to enjoy his lunch later. When he opened his box, however, the expressions around the carriage darkened. Hungry eyes locked onto him, all focused on the curry he had brought. The office lady groaned, calling the situation violent in its temptation. The university student observed that there could be many casualties from this ordeal, yet admitted it was equally hard for both Hikachi and Neujin. Beside him, Neujin's body trembled. The spicy scent was overwhelming. She felt close to tears, afraid her stomach would betray her with a growl. Hikachi glanced at her, hesitant even to offer some of his food. The university student whispered to his companions that it had become a battle of endurance, waiting to see who, among them, or the two seated together, would have their stomach growl first. Eyes across the carriage shifted between Hikachi and Neujin, watching closely for the moment one of them would lose control. The manager finally spoke again, his tone carrying a kind of drama, saying that the only thing the adults could do for these suffering younger passengers was to extend a helping hand and communicate. He seemed ready to offer his own food, but the office lady gasped in sudden accusation, declaring that there was no way strangers would accept such an offer and that he must have been behind the entire situation from the start. A university student leaned forward smug, claiming he had suspected the manager all along. He pointed out that the man had been holding his bag in an unusual way and behaving oddly. The manager raised his hands in defense, insisting that if his company had not called him that morning, he would have eaten before boarding and simply watched events unfold. Hikachi quietly confirmed that it might be true, remarking that even the water bottle nearby seemed to be just tea, acting as a cover. At that moment, his own stomach betrayed him with a loud growl, drawing attention. He looked away, embarrassed, while others seemed to share the shame. One person smiled involuntarily, as if holding back a comment. Hikachi caught the thought. Someone believed he was gorgeous, though he could not react. Soon, the train pulled into the cafeteria stop. Passengers moved off in an orderly chain, eager to chase the food they had been craving for the past hour. At the next station, Maku, a large route disembarked, drawn toward a restaurant that was already packed to its limit. The smell of curry pulled them in like a tide. Hikachi finally managed to purchase something for himself, enough to put an end to the quiet hunger that had stalked him through the ride. The tension eased, the smell faded into the background, and the morning settled once again into the rhythm of an ordinary commute, though the memory of the silent battle lingered in the minds of all who had witnessed it. Hikachi returned to the train some time later. He muttered under his breath about the station, noting it was a good stop to finally end his stomach growling. As he stepped inside, he noticed an elderly passenger struggling to place a suitcase in the overhead rack. He moved quickly to help. The old man thanked him warmly, grateful both for the seat and for the help with the luggage. Hikachi smiled, explaining in his own quiet way that he was simply there to help, the same as always. From a short distance, Neujin watched. She caught the small, sincere smile on his face and felt her own lips curve upward. She found him innocent and cute. She could not sit next to him today, but she felt it was nice to stand nearby. She usually only ever saw his side profile. She stood close beside him, and without warning turned her head. At the same time, Hikachi also turned his, glancing toward the mirror and unexpectedly meeting her eyes. Nearby, a university student leaned toward the manager and spoke in a low but sharp tone, observing that even those who try not to be noticed cannot help but look. The office lady smirked, noting that people always end up looking, especially if it is someone they like. The manager chuckled and asked why he had not been told sooner. The office lady replied through the group chat that she was telling him now, warning that turning around at this moment would cause both Hikachi and Neujin to notice. The university student typed quickly, offering to give a running commentary. The manager responded that he was counting on them. He could only see the pair in the window but swore he felt something strange at his back. The university student reminded the group to be careful, since it was not often they were face to face with both of them. The office lady agreed, adding that she could not let it show on her face. Meanwhile, Hikachi reminded himself to avoid getting caught. He told himself that a quick glance was fine, as it was natural to notice a girl. It was not just her height but also her hands, shoulders, and face. Everything was so pretty. The height difference stood out to him. He found himself staring again, thinking she was truly amazing. At the same moment, Neujin's gaze lingered on his reflection in the train's mirror. She thought of him as a really good guy. She noticed the broadness of his shoulders and the quiet strength in his hands. Memories surfaced of the folk song she had once written, inspired by moments like this. She found it amazing. Suddenly, an old man stepped up behind Hikachi. From nearby seats, one of the office ladies reacted sharply, questioning the old man for getting involved with him right in the middle of this couple. The university student, the manager, and several other passengers were already locked in, their eyes fixed on Hikachi and Neujin. The university student told others to fix their expressions, warning that this was the day they would definitely be noticed staring. The manager sighed, thinking it all would have started earlier if someone had switched places with him. The office lady whispered that the pair were looking away again. The university student noted they had not caught each other this time. Hikachi's thoughts were tangled. He guessed this was what people meant by stealing a glance. He knew he should not, but the situation felt strange. Even though they had sat next to each other before, being with the girl of his dreams felt unreal. Now they were face to face for the first time. He told himself to restrain his gaze but recalled how their eyes had just met perfectly. He wondered if she had been watching him. Almost without meaning to, he looked toward the mirror again. One of the office ladies whispered in awe about how amazing the couple looked, wondering if such an incident could happen 3 times in a row. Naeujin's gaze shifted again, and Hikachi caught it immediately. He noticed her looking at him, until he realized she was actually looking at the old man behind her. He questioned why. The manager's eyes widened as he felt there was definitely something above him, and his face turned pale. One of the office ladies hissed at him not to move until it went away. The manager asked nervously what it was, admitting he was scared. The university student sharply instructed him not to turn around, warning he was being watched very closely. The manager froze, wondering aloud what kind of dangerous creature it could be. Hikachi finally pieced it together. She had only been staring at the man peering over her shoulder. It was another misunderstanding. An elderly woman's voice soon broke the tension, thanking Hikachi and mentioning their stop was coming soon. She appreciated the help he had already given. Hikachi responded politely. The woman then offered that Hikachi and Naeujin could sit together again. At her words, Naeujin's face flushed red. Hikachi's chest tightened with excitement at the thought. The old lady chuckled when she noticed Naeujin pointing toward Hikachi, then apologized, saying it was nothing like that. Naeujin felt flustered and could not speak right away. She worried she had been caught staring at him repeatedly, so obviously that even a stranger could tell. She hoped he had not noticed, fearing he might think she was creepy. At the same time, Hikachi replayed the old lady's words in his mind. She really thought they were a couple. He could not believe it. He told himself it was just another misunderstanding. Sometime later, 2 girls entered and took seats across from Hikachi and Naeujin, their voices bright as they talked about childhood crushes. One teased the other about mentioning a boy named Kun. The second girl laughed nervously and spoke about settling into her new class, explaining it was Class 2, where there happened to be a boy with that name. Her friend noticed her blushing and suggested she liked him. The black-haired girl quickly denied it, explaining she had only been moved to sit beside him because of her eyesight, needing to be in the front. Hikachi listened with faint amusement, thinking it was probably a private elementary school, perhaps 2nd or 3rd grade. He assumed the girl on the left must be thrilled to be in the same class as a boy she had liked since spring. It reminded him of similar situations from his own school days. Naeujin, too, recalled when a classmate once asked her to switch seats, wondering if that had been their first love. Hikachi reflected that just hearing the name of someone you liked could make your expression light up, and realized he had once felt the same way. For a moment, the carriage quieted, as if everyone nearby was caught in the warm nostalgia of the conversation. The black-haired girl said she was content simply being beside the boy, watching him, and that this filled her with happiness. Hikachi felt the words deeply and understood them completely. The office lady nearby murmured about relating to it, comparing it to an elementary school romance. A high school girl said she was not thinking about dating but enjoyed small moments of possibility. Her friend agreed, saying such quiet moments were the ones to be cherished. The manager, his subordinate, and the office lady exchanged gentle smiles, as though silently protecting the little world between Hikachi and Naeujin. The first girl then questioned what might happen if someone else took the boy away. The black-haired girl reacted in shock. A university student, watching from a distance, commented on Hikachi and Naeujin's frozen expressions. Naeujin replied calmly that love moved at its own pace, though inwardly she thought one could not expect others to match that pace. The university student suggested a push might be needed, even something drastic, to move things forward. The office lady was startled at the idea of using elementary romance as shock therapy. The manager expressed surprise at how mature the children sounded. The office lady corrected him, saying they were simply at an age where they wanted to grow up faster. The white-haired girl remarked that boys could become arrogant once they knew someone liked them, acting pushy or high-minded. The manager found it unsettling to hear such thoughts from elementary girls. The university student insisted the boy in question was likely just thinking about the next step. The white-haired girl added that she wanted him to always feel a sense of danger and not grow complacent just because they had kissed once. At the mention of a kiss, Hikachi and Naeujin both stiffened, focusing on the conversation. The black-haired girl explained that the boy had started playing around after realizing his popularity, then asked her friend if he was truly good for her. The white-haired girl replied that the ones who gave presents and showed true kindness were the most fun to play with, and that boys who thought they were in control could be shown otherwise. The office lady concluded the pair were lost in the conversation, while the university student remarked that elementary romance talk had overwhelmed them. The manager likened it to a fight they could not win. Hikachi, still processing, began jotting notes, determined to learn from these younger masters of love. Naojan, cheeks pink, did the same, hoping to understand love from their perspective. The university student noticed and questioned whether they were actually planning to use these tactics. The office lady praised their willingness to cast aside pride for growth. The manager, touched, commented on how much they had matured. The university student pointed out that the person they would use the tactics on was sitting beside them, startling the office lady and manager. The office lady warned that it was like showing a magic trick to someone who already knew the secret, though she admitted she wanted to see the result. The black-haired girl leaned toward her friend, asking how she had managed her situation. With a sly smile, the white-haired girl revealed she had gotten the boy to say he liked her without saying it back, by secretly giving him her extra piece of meat during lunch duty. Hikachi and Naojan noted this down at once. Naojan admired the boldness of approaching a crush so directly. The university student joked about their age, and the office lady confirmed they were indeed in elementary school. Hikachi thought that the next day it might be nice to sit a little closer than usual. Another day arrived, and the morning train carried its usual rhythm, yet something felt different. The girl who often shared this time was absent. In her place, a new boy appeared, sliding into the seat beside Hikachi. The boy greeted him casually and remarked on the early hour, suggesting it was too soon for such activity. Hikachi disagreed in thought, preferring the calmness of the train at this time. The boy noted that Hikachi was present unusually early during Golden Week and questioned whether his girlfriend was fine with it. Hikachi's thoughts drifted, realizing that without the usual girl, the atmosphere felt altered, as though the train reflected a different version of himself. From a few seats away, the office lady observed to the manager that Hikachi seemed lonely. The manager sighed, noting that while most enjoyed Golden Week, they remained at work. Back beside Hikachi, the classmate hinted at past relationships, asking if Hikachi still dated a convenience store girl or perhaps a college student now. The office lady reacted with interest upon hearing the term college student. The university student, sitting nearby, commented with a knowing smile that this friend was quite different from Hikachi. The manager chuckled, likening him to a popular type from his own youth. Hikachi questioned his friend about meeting a college girl, speculating if it happened through work. The boy, suspicious, remarked that Hikachi's curiosity about romance was unusual. He explained that in group discussions, Hikachi typically stayed quiet. Then, with a smirk, the boy claimed to have his own romantic experiences and teased that Hikachi had lost to an elementary school girl. The statement stunned the nearby listeners. The office lady wondered aloud why the boy was showing off. The manager groaned in exasperation. The university student explained that such behavior was instinctive for men. He elaborated that when asked about experience, a man could not simply say no without fearing he was falling behind. Men exaggerated, puffed up their image, and faced challenges even when the odds were against them. He concluded that it was a matter of protecting dignity in a competitive world. Then, with amusement, he remarked that the boy should run. Hikachi's friend leaned in with playful curiosity, asking if Hikachi had been acting in such a way. Soon after, he leaned back, smiling faintly. He reassured Hikachi, stating that there was no need to pretend, as his qualities were already apparent. If he could see them, then surely the girl had noticed as well. He encouraged Hikachi to approach her, adding that rejection would not be the end, as support would be available. Hikachi reacted with surprise, unsettled by the sudden sentiment. The boy simply assured him it would work out. Meanwhile, the university student typed into a group chat that such conversations could make someone popular. The manager laughed, recalling his own younger days. The office lady tilted her head, commenting on the boy's perceptiveness and high intuition, noting it seemed almost excessive. The boy stretched and announced his plan to take a later train the next day. Hikachi reminded him that practical lessons would still be held. The boy responded that perhaps Hikachi's girl might be on the same train at this time tomorrow, and he preferred not to make a habit of interfering in another person's love life. The remark struck Hikachi directly, bringing a flush to her cheeks and widening her eyes. The manager questioned how the boy had known, and the office lady, impressed, called him an amazing and even terrifying figure. Hikachi, attempting to mask her reaction, asked for clarification, but the boy only smirked and suggested his intuition was simply good. As his station approached, he rose without hurry. Hikachi's thoughts lingered on his parting words, those casually delivered lines about not interfering in someone's love life. They echoed in her mind as the train carried on, the seat beside her now empty yet filled with the weight of his insight. Another day arrived, and Hikachi noticed the familiar girl sitting beside him again. It had been a week since they last met on the train, and the thought that she was really there beside him made his heart race. Before the moment could settle, another passenger appeared and took the seat in front of Hikachi and Naojan. Soon, the manned station came. but he left his phone behind on the seat. Hikashi, acting without hesitation, picked it up and hurried after him. He managed to catch him in time, handing it back before the man stepped off completely. The man expressed his gratitude, relieved to have it returned. Somewhere nearby, the office lady quietly observed and felt thankful he had caught the man in time, noting his kind and sweet-natured personality. The university student in the group chat remarked that now they could return to the youthful moment between Hikashi and the girl they had all been anticipating. The train's automated voice announced the closing of the doors, urging passengers to stand behind the white line. As the man stepped onto his own train, the university student typed that he would never forget the bewildered look on the man's face as their train pulled away. Hikashi himself felt his nerves tighten, realizing what had just happened. After so long, he had finally been able to sit beside her, only to have the moment interrupted. Golden Week had ended, and he promised himself that tomorrow would be different. He silently hoped there would be no excuse for being late, but now as the train carried the others away, Hikashi was left standing behind, caught in a mix of nervousness and anticipation. On board, Naojin wondered if he was waiting for the next train already. She hoped he wouldn't be late and kept thinking of him. The next morning, Hikachi took his usual seat, but another boy, Jinch, appeared and sat down beside him. The old man and the office lady watching from a distance felt frustration that the seat had been taken by someone else. Hikachi himself waited for Naojin to arrive, but she could not sit beside him now. Though Jinch had done nothing wrong, Hikachi felt selfishly disappointed it was not her. The university student commented in the chat that there was no such thing as reserving seats, so there was no chance of changing the situation. A little later, two older men entered, searching for seats. The old man and his companions silently hoped they would not approach, as only one seat remained. But Hikachi, unwilling to be rude, stood up and offered his place to one of them. Now instead of sitting, he stood beside Naojin. The university student noted in the chat that Hikachi's kindness, or perhaps his lack of assertiveness, was showing, and he hoped it would not become a fatal flaw in his romantic life. Inwardly, Hikachi thought about how, if she might be watching, he wanted to appear cool in her eyes. This reminded him of a time back in university when a friend had once questioned how such a thing could make him uncool. Every morning he rode the same train. He wondered how many people took it in total, and how many passed through his station each day. Among them, he and that girl were just two passengers. Another morning came, and he arrived earlier than usual, feeling slightly impatient. They happened to sit beside each other sometimes, but he still did not know her name. They had no arrangement to meet, and one day she might simply stop appearing. That day could be tomorrow. The question hung in his mind. What exactly was he waiting for? But then he recalled his friend's advice, to be patient, to approach her step by step, and not to let her disappear from his life. As the train doors slid open, he hoped that this would be the day. Then she arrived. Naojin stepped in and sat down beside him. The sudden closeness made him blush deeply. The manager, the office lady, and the university student in the group chat reacted with excitement. She had finally taken the seat next to him. Hikachi could feel his heartbeat pounding. It felt like an eternity since the last time. Heat rushed through him, and he became acutely aware of how much he was sweating. Some time later, all the passengers watched the pair closely. They silently agreed to protect any moment the two might have together. The manager recalled her youth with pride, confident she could defend their time. The university student remembered their earlier promise to watch over them. Meanwhile, Naojin sat with her thoughts racing. She noticed their elbows touching and felt herself overreacting, yet she could not ignore the heightened awareness of his presence. Hikachi grew tense, worried about his sweaty hands and hoping she could not hear his pounding heartbeat. She wondered how it would feel if he suddenly called her name, then questioned whether attending different schools might make such moments less likely. Hikachi's mind stayed fixed on the closeness between them, uncertain of what would come next. The stillness broke when another passenger approached, intending to sit near them. The old man and the office lady recognized the man as trouble and wished to keep him away. Soon, two older men arrived looking for seats. Two other passengers who had been quietly watching over Hikachi every day gestured for the men to take seats elsewhere. Then the Genshin enthusiast appeared, noticing Hikachi's phone case and remarking on the character displayed. The encounter added to the small interruptions in the air. Before long, the train neared their destination. Hikachi realized they had already reached the station and prepared to leave. At that moment, Naojin moved toward him. The other passengers observed with anticipation, curious about her intentions. She approached and held out an object he had left behind. It was his ID. Hikachi froze in surprise, grateful for her returning it. Just as the moment hung between them, Naojin's friend appeared, reminding her that the train was about to depart. Embarrassed, she returned quickly to her friend's side. In that brief exchange, Hikachi learned her name for the first time, Naojin. She also left with a small sense of happiness, for now she knew his name as well, Hikachi. The train carried on, but the moment lingered. The passengers who had been watching felt satisfied, knowing the two now knew each other's names. It was a small step forward, but perhaps the beginning of something more. The next morning arrived, and Hikachi felt a quiet disappointment. He had not been able to sit beside her again. He had wanted to thank her properly for returning his ID the day before, but the chance never came. Elsewhere, in a restaurant, the office ladies drank together and dismissed the morning's setback as unimportant. The manager felt satisfied, believing the important thing was that the two had finally acknowledged each other. Around them, their group celebrated openly, for Hikachi had at last learned the girl's name. Later, Hikachi met with a friend who focused on the detail that mattered most. He now knew her name. Hikachi explained it had happened by coincidence. He recalled how he had dropped his student ID without noticing, and she had gone out of her way to leave the train, chase him down, and return it. In the present, he admitted that learning more about her as a person made him unexpectedly happy. His friend observed this with quiet understanding, remarking that brief interactions like these were good for him. The conversation shifted when another friend suggested that Hikachi must know someone who could discover her full name. A second friend took it further, proposing they try to get her contact information. Yet another pointed out that Hikachi could simply ask her himself. This question hung in the air before someone asked directly whether he had done so. That night, Hikachi remained calm. He decided to enjoy the gradual process, embracing the ups and downs as they came. Alone in his room, he searched his phone for her profile. He muttered her name to himself, but could not find any trace of her online. He assumed she might not use social media. At the same time, in her own room, Naojin was also searching for him. She reminded herself that knowing his name did not mean anything had truly changed. Neither realized they were engaged in the same search at the same moment. Both sat in their rooms, blushing at thoughts of the other. Hikachi caught himself mumbling and felt embarrassed. Naojin, restless, admitted inwardly that she could not calm herself, especially with tomorrow approaching. Meanwhile, the manager and his subordinate relived the events of the previous day with excitement. They spoke of how they had secured the perfect seats near the pair and how everyone had joined in celebrating. Knowing Hikachi had learned the girl's name, the university student quietly considered how the two might grow closer from here, perhaps even beginning a relationship. The irony was that the only ones unaware of their feelings were Hikachi and Naojin themselves. On the way home, the office lady wondered aloud why such heavy topics were being raised so late in the day. The manager, however, brushed it aside, suggesting another drink. The university student teased him, questioning if he truly wanted to risk missing the train and the next day's unfolding story. The manager reacted with visible fluster, caught between the tease and the unspoken anticipation of what might come next. The following morning at the station, the office lady felt frustrated by the unexpected rain, thinking it had ruined her start to the day. The university student reflected that a slight delay in the weather would have been manageable. Elsewhere, Naojin searched for her towel, wondering if it had been left in the bathroom. She worried about having no handkerchief and considered how to handle the situation. Hikachi then offered her his towel. Naojin accepted, blushing and feeling bewildered by the fact she was now using his towel. Hikachi felt equally tense, realizing what he had done in the moment. She sensed her face heating and wondered if her expression looked strange. Hikachi tried to reassure himself that lending it was harmless and remembered it had been washed recently. Nearby, the manager smiled warmly at the scene, silently blessing the rain. The office lady felt grateful for witnessing something so rare. The manager reflected on Hikachi's act of lending Naojin his towel. The university student observed that while Hikachi was somewhat clumsy, he could be unexpectedly smooth in such moments, and imagined what typically followed after borrowing a towel. The office lady concluded it would be returned after being cleaned. The university student pictured this outcome but considered the obstacle of lacking contact details. The situation could lead to an exchange of information, unless Hikachi discouraged it by saying it was unnecessary. He believed Hikachi might indeed say something like that. The manager and the office lady reacted with surprise. The office lady speculated that Naojin, being responsible, would still return it. The manager agreed, thinking that borrowed items should always be returned. Meanwhile, Naojin reflected that he had already helped her plenty. She recalled that he had framed it as returning favors from when she had helped him, yet she believed he had done more for her. This thought made her smile softly. She felt warmth from knowing he remembered those moments. She blushed and lifted the towel to inhale its scent. It felt different from home fabrics, softer, and she took another breath. Hikachi glanced at her and noticed the action. She murmured to herself that it smelled like his home. Hikachi froze, and so did the passengers, the manager, the office lady, and the university student. The office lady quietly questioned what she had just seen. The university student confirmed it, equally stunned. The manager noted Hikachi's deep blush. Naojin, realizing what she had done, turned away in embarrassment, scolding herself for smelling a boy's towel. Hikachi wondered if she truly had done it, but deep down accepted it was real, his heart racing. Her panic grew as she feared he might think she was odd. Hikachi wondered why she would do that. The manager thought there was only one possible reason. Hikachi began to worry it might mean the towel had an unpleasant odor. In response, Hikachi apologized and suggested it might be a clubroom towel, unsuitable for her. Naojin reassured him it did not smell bad, feeling the need to prove it. She wet a small section and handed it to him. He sniffed it and confirmed no bad scent. She promised to clean and return it, but Hikachi told her not to bother. She insisted. The surrounding passengers watched closely, sensing an extraordinary moment. Hikachi apologized again for any discomfort. Naojin stood quickly and clarified that the scent was actually pleasant, which was why she had smelled it. His face grew hotter as he struggled to respond. She turned away, repeating her intent to wash and return it, privately noting she had almost spoken his name. Hikachi agreed, thinking about how close they had been, certain she had nearly said his name. The onlookers were stunned, whispering about how close she had come to addressing him directly and the closeness between them. The next day, Naojin returned the towel with a smile, thanking him. Hikachi dismissed the thanks, acknowledging her past kindness toward him. The office lady reflected on how they had missed the chance to exchange contact details. The university student questioned why blame was placed on him. Everyone, however, agreed that the rainy day had been a rare and special event for them both. The university student resolved to wait patiently for the moment when they would finally exchange contact information. Lately, Hikachi felt that things with Naojin had been going well. The student ID incident and the towel situation had created more chances for them to talk. He had once believed that a one-sided crush could go nowhere with someone he only saw during the commute to school, someone whose name he had not even known. Now he wondered if, at this rate, something more might be possible. At Haimshiro Station, the announcement instructed passengers to stay behind the white line. Sakurai apologized to Nayu for keeping her up late with his problems, explaining that his male friends had been no help. She assured him it was fine and important to her. He promised to make his girlfriend's birthday the best it could be. A group chat began. The office lady noticed Nayu with a handsome young man and teased her for keeping it quiet. The manager speculated about a boyfriend but disapproved as a father. The university boy told them to stop acting like parents and suggested listening first. Sakurai admitted upsetting Shizuku earlier, but Nayu thought Shizuku had only been embarrassed. Hikachi noted the boy wore the same uniform as Nayu, and judging by their conversation, seemed to be her classmate. The university students guessed he was asking Nayu for birthday advice for his girlfriend, who was also Nayu's friend. Sakurai described Shizuku's usual grumpy face as cute, but her smile is even cuter, and he did not want to miss the chance to make her smile. Nayu advised against an unplanned flash mob. The office lady concluded Sakurai truly loved his girlfriend, and everyone was relieved he was just a classmate. The university boy noted he did not seem to be a threat to Hikachi. The manager admitted being uninterested in Sakurai's love troubles. Sakurai then asked Nayu what kind of birthday she would want with a boyfriend. She said she had no boyfriend and no ideas. Sakurai pressed her for something that would surprise a girl. Hikachi was shocked to hear she had no boyfriend. The office lady wanted to hear Nayu's ideal birthday. The university boy realized this was a chance to learn her views on love. Nayu hesitated to answer, especially with Hikachi sitting behind her, but said she wanted Shizuku and Sakurai to have a good birthday. She thought surprises were fine, but, if it were her, she would rather play games together or go on a train journey. The activity would not matter as much as having each other all to themselves for the day. The office lady remarked on Nayu's unexpected passion. Sakurai related, saying he was happy just being around Shizuku, but wanted to make her happy too. The university boy suspected Nayu imagined being with Hikachi when mentioning games on the train. Hikachi mentally noted games, trains, all to himself. The manager commented on Hikachi taking notes like a madman, and the office lady said such things could not be learned in any classroom. Sakurai asked about presents, revealing he had composed a romantic love song. Nayu resisted answering, knowing if she stayed silent, he might perform it in a flash mob. She thought his girlfriend would appreciate something heartfelt. Personally, she would like going to an arcade, winning a cuddly toy together, and receiving it as a gift. Sakurai liked the idea and decided to add more to what he had prepared. Nayu thought he already had enough. The office lady saw Nayu as the type who valued memories over material gifts. Nayu tried to change the subject, asking about Himari at a recent sports tournament. The university boy realized this was the most he had ever heard Nayu talk, and the manager agreed. The office lady noted she seemed different when speaking with a friend. Sakurai said she remembered such things well, and she replied that the tournament had been only last month, admitting she had a good memory. Ikichi thought about her name, Nayu-jin, and the manager remarked that Sakurai seemed too familiar in calling her Nayu. The university boy explained that friends sometimes use the same nickname as a lover. For Hikichi, this brought back memories of the student ID and towel incidents, which had given him time with her. He questioned himself, feeling he might just be getting carried away. He imagined if they went to the same school and were in the same class, they would see each other from morning until the last bell every day. They would have known each other's names from the start and found conversation naturally. He was certain that in that world, her smile would be a familiar sight. At Sakuramiya Station, the announcement called for passengers to alight. Hikichi thought such imaginings would not cross his mind anymore, yet he told himself there was still a long way to go and not to be impatient. He resolved to continue from here. Nayu wished she could talk to Hikichi as naturally as she did with Sakurai. She knew this was still far off. Hikichi reflected again on the fact that Nayu did not have a boyfriend. The next morning, the scene began with the switch already on. In the group chat, the manager announced the arrival of the seasonal outfit change, declaring that summer uniforms had replaced the usual attire. The university students noted that winter uniforms had lasted for a long time, making this change feel fresh. An office lady remarked on the youthful appearance of their skin. The students observed the heat of the day, surprising for early June. The office lady pointed out that university students did not have to wear uniforms, calling them lucky. The manager shared that sitting in an air-conditioned carriage with fizzy drinks made train travel enjoyable. The office lady suggested that this change might be exciting for their young companion, especially since Nayu-chan's summer uniform stood out. The students considered that his time spent building a connection with her could be affecting his reaction. The office lady noticed he had not looked at Nayu-chan in her new uniform and wondered if he was still affected by a previous incident. The students speculated he might feel unable to compete with her peers, leaving him unsure how to proceed. Ikichi wondered aloud what he should do. Nayu-jan dramatically imagined a crisis filling the carriage. Hikichi thought about his stomach pain and the overly strong air conditioning. His seat was directly hit by cold air, and he feared Nayu-jin might hear his stomach. The office lady noticed his discomfort and questioned the source of a strange sound. The manager concluded it was a stomach ache. The office lady accused the manager of being the one in pain, blaming fizzy drinks. The manager defended himself, explaining he had been hot earlier but now felt cool. The students asked how many years the manager had been riding the train and suggested getting off at the next station. Hikichi considered it, but hesitated. The manager admitted he wanted to see the boy's first day in his summer uniform. Hikichi longed to look at Nayu-jin's summer attire a little longer. The students were surprised he might stay despite the discomfort. The manager assured them he would manage if he wrote it out. Nayu-jan noticed Hikichi looked unwell. The students saw him barely holding on. The office lady judged his situation worse than the manager's, noting that he was not reacting to Nayu-chan's outfit at all. The students agreed. The office lady reflected on the unique charm of summer uniforms, seeing them as symbols of youth. She pondered whether it was the seasonal contrast or the nearness of summer that made them appealing, and observed that even among identical outfits, Nayu-chan stood out. The office lady saw Hikichi hugging his arms. The manager believed this was to keep warm. Nayu-jan wondered if he was simply cold from the air conditioning. She thought about thanking him for the towel and wished she had a jacket to offer. Noticing the difference in a boy's arms, she decided she could keep him warm by sitting close. The office lady noticed Nayu-chan hiding her face. The manager feared she was now in pain too. The office lady dismissed him, focusing on Hikichi's distant expression and Nayu-chan's reaction. The students noted the train passing through alternating sunlight and shadow. In the light, his expression looked calm. In shadow, his face turned grim. The office lady acknowledged the stomach ache, and the manager reaffirmed his earlier point. The train announced the approach to Asatsuyu. Hikichi felt he had reached his limit and regretted not being able to see more of Nayu-jin's summer uniform. The manager saw him pick up his bag and wondered if he was leaving. The office lady confirmed it and suggested getting off discreetly. The manager decided he had gone as far as he could. The office lady warned that getting off together might lead to an encounter at the toilets, but the manager was unconcerned, even about using the stall next to him. The students recalled that Asatsuyu was a small station and doubted the men's restroom had more than one stall. The office lady considered that whoever ran first at the next station, either the boy or the manager, would win. She recalled the manager once saying that before anything else, they were actors and the others were the audience. The students remembered those words fondly, wishing for more adults with such values. They thought of adults willing to give up their own comforts for others. The manager dismissed the sentiment, saying it was simply two men giving their all. The office lady accused him of being two-faced. The students insisted they had warned him to get off earlier. The manager declared his intent to get off immediately. The office lady blocked him, urging him to wave the boy off instead. The train announced the station once more. Hikichi pushed through the crowd, determined to exit. The office lady encouraged him to run, while the manager complained about unfair blocking. At that moment, both had only one thought. Later, the manager remembered being told not to run inside the station and realizing he could still sprint. The next day, the office lady apologized for blocking his exit. It turned out there had been 2 stalls at the station, but the manager was so annoyed that he refused to respond in the group chat for 5 minutes. Early one morning, the switch had been seen turned on. The manager later sent a message in the group chat announcing that the seasonal outfit change had arrived. The summer outfit was different from the usual uniform. University students commented in the chat, noting that the staff had been wearing winter uniforms for a long time, and the change felt refreshing. An office lady in the group chat observed that their skin looked youthful. The students mentioned that it was hot outside despite it being only June. The office lady reminded a male university student that he was lucky, as university students did not have to wear uniforms. The manager typed again, saying that sitting in an air-conditioned train carriage while drinking fizzy drinks made the train ride the best. The office lady remarked in the group chat that the turn of events must surely be making the boy quite excited, especially since Nayu-chan's summer uniform was striking. The students reacted, suggesting that perhaps the days the boy had spent getting closer to Nayu-chan had built to this moment. The office lady observed with surprise that the boy had not glanced at Nayu-chan in her summer uniform even once and wondered if he was still bothered by something that had happened recently. The students speculated that maybe he had realized he could not compete with her friends or classmates, and he seemed at a loss about what to do next. Hikichi, speaking slowly, questioned what he should do. Nayu-chan humorously remarked that the sound of crisis echoed through the carriage. In his mind, Hikichi thought about his stomach pain, noticing how high the air conditioning felt. The seat was being blasted with cold air, and he feared Nayu-jin might hear his stomach gurgling. The office lady commented that the boy looked like he was in pain and asked about the strange sound. The manager responded that it sounded like the boy had a stomachache. The office lady accused the manager of actually being the one in trouble, blaming his fizzy drink consumption. The manager explained that it was hot outside, he had been sweating, but was now nice and cool. The students asked how many years the manager had been riding this train and pointed out that the next station was approaching, suggesting he should get off there. Hikichi thought slowly that maybe he should get off at the next stop but hesitated. The manager expressed that he did not want to miss seeing the boy's first day in his summer uniform. Hikichi thought privately that he wanted to see Nayu-jin in her summer uniform a little longer. The students noted his willingness to stay even if it meant enduring unbearable discomfort. The manager assured everyone he would be fine, claiming years of experience and the belief that once the boy managed to ride this tiny wave, things would settle. Then he trailed off. Nayu-chan observed in her mind that Hikichi did not seem well. The students noted that he looked like he was barely holding on. The office lady insisted that the boy's emergency must be worse than the manager's, emphasizing that he was not reacting at all to Nayu-chan's uniform, despite her being the girl he had a crush on. The students agreed. The office lady reflected on the special charm of a summer uniform, describing it as the symbol of youth. She wondered whether it was the liberating contrast between summer and winter uniforms, or simply the nearness of summer that created the feeling. She pointed out that even though everyone wore the same outfit, Nayu-chan seemed to shine uniquely in hers. The office lady noted that the boy was hugging his arms as if fighting something. The manager insisted that this was because he had a stomachache and was trying to warm his cold body. Nayu-chan wondered if Hikichi was simply cold, thinking that the air conditioning was strong and wishing she had something to lend him, like a jacket. She thought about the difference in boy's arms and decided that sticking close to him could help, perhaps by warming his arms. The office lady observed that Nayu-chan was now hiding her face. The manager speculated, wrongly, that she might also have stomach pains. The office lady told him to be quiet, pointing out that the boy was spacing out while Nayu-chan hid her face, making the situation seem worse than expected. The students mentioned that the train was moving in and out of tunnels, causing sunlight to appear and disappear. They noticed that the boy's expression was calm when sunlight shone on him, but the office lady pointed out that his face became grim when it vanished. The office lady soon admitted that it really was a stomachache. The manager claimed he had been saying so all along. A train announcement declared that Asatsu Station was approaching. Hikichi admitted in the chat that he had reached his limit and would regret not seeing Nayu-jin in her summer uniform. The manager noticed he was picking up his bag, wondering if he was getting off. The office lady confirmed it and suggested they should also get off without making it obvious. The manager felt this was as far as he could go. The office lady warned against getting off at the same station. fearing they might run into the boy in the toilets. She reminded the manager that the boy was also getting off, so the risk was high. The manager replied that he did not care and would simply use the stall next to him. The students recalled that Asatsuyu was a small station and questioned whether the men's restroom even had more than one stall. The office lady concluded that at the next station, only one person, either the boy or the manager, could make the mad dash first. She recalled the manager once saying that before they were just actors on stage, and the group were merely the audience. The students said those words had moved them, wishing for more adults like that in their lives, adults who would give up their morning food for a hungry child. The manager, however, declared that now they were simply two men facing off, regardless of age, and they just needed to give it their all. The office lady accused him of being a two-faced liar. The students said they had predicted this, which was why they told him to get off earlier. The manager announced he was getting off now. The office lady insisted they would not let him through and urged him to wave the boy off instead. A train announcement repeated that the train was now approaching Asatsu Station. Hikichi asked to be let through so he could get off. The office lady encouraged him to run for it, while the manager protested that blocking the way was unfair. From that moment, both the boy and the manager had only one goal in mind. Later, the manager vaguely recalled someone shouting not to run inside the station. He remarked that he had not known he could still run like that. The next day, the group chat reopened. The office lady apologized for blocking the manager from getting off the train, admitting it had been wrong. It turned out the station had 2 stalls, and the manager had been so annoyed that he refused to respond to the chat for a full 5 minutes that day. Hikachi checked his phone. The office lady felt that something might happen that day. The university student understood the feeling, recalling that Hikachi had spoken to Neu the previous evening. The manager observed that Hikachi had matured compared to months before. Hikachi wondered how those concerned always managed to connect with someone nearby and found it odd that his lucky item involved someone skilled at poor timing. All three sensed a difference in the day's atmosphere. Neu also believed that something unusual was coming. Hikachi resolved to greet Neu that morning, planning a natural and steady approach. He intended to greet her every day, noting they had spoken before and believing it was a reasonable start. On his way to the station, he felt confident. For some, such a step might be small, but it could take courage and even alter one's life. Spotting her ahead, he reminded himself that it was only a greeting and that the first step was essential. He prepared to say it, but instead found himself facing the old man Genshin, who greeted him warmly. Hikachi froze, sensing déjà vu. Genshin was known as a gamer who appeared casual but had exceptional skills paired with poor timing. The manager noticed Hikachi's attempt to smile. The office lady lamented the return to a familiar, unproductive situation. The university student suspected Genshin's presence might still lead somewhere. Naya considered that a Cancer was rarely confident and wondered about his birthday. The office lady speculated that Hikachi's birthday could interest both Nayu and Genshin. The university student reminded them that Genshin's timing was not always bad. Frustration grew as another of Nayu's classmates arrived at the wrong time. Someone noted the poor timing. Everyone paused at the sight. The classmate remarked on Hikachi's presence beside Nayu again, recalling past awkward incidents, and expressed curiosity about his current intentions. The classmate also acknowledged Hikachi's proximity. Nayu felt conflicted about which conversation to follow, unwilling to ignore either. The office lady wished one could delay their arrival. The university student noticed their bright smiles. The manager asked Genshin to speak louder. The university student prioritized the conversation between Nayu and her classmate, though he recognized no other choice existed. He assumed the older man and Hikachi discussed games. Hikachi began to understand that love involved uncertainty in one's own emotions. The office lady, intrigued, noted that Hikachi was speaking about love and questioned the situation. The manager sensed something different about Genshin that day. The university student decided to focus on the older man and Hikachi. Hikachi looked toward Nayu. Her classmate questioned his expression and shared that meeting her on the train was pleasant. Though confronting it was difficult, Nayu wondered about possible events between Hikachi and her friend. Her friend realized during a recent lunch that seeing her had disrupted his self-perception. The office lady, frustrated, thought the friend had been infatuated with Hikachi. The university student hoped this did not mean the friend also secretly loved Nayu. The friend confessed his feelings, mentioning a preference for mushrooms until seeing her enjoy bamboo shoots made him reconsider. The office lady simply advised eating them. Everyone reacted with exaggerated expressions. The office lady redirected attention to Genshin and Hikachi's exchange. The manager believed the older man was also deciding between mushrooms and bamboo shoots. The university student admitted that the topic could have ended there, though it still revolved around love. Genshin reflected on the need to choose what one loves most at life's crossroads. Nayu's classmate brought up Hikachi's upcoming birthday and pressed for his preference. The university student checked whether this was still about food. The office lady concluded that Genshin was simply working hard at being foolish. The university student felt the situation was clearer, though the most important discussion remained with Genshin and Hikachi. Hikachi decided that rushing was pointless and that he should take things slowly, but feared that seasonal change might cause him to miss his chance with Nayu forever. He believed the first big step was necessary before it was too late. Observers thought highly of him. Hikachi considered working another hour for extra money. Genshin, in a fatherly gesture, reassured him, understanding the panic when others moved ahead and the willingness to endure anything just to see someone. Hikachi was moved by the words. Genshin revealed they had only been discussing a game, likening it to the thrill of gacha. Hikachi clarified that the limited availability was real and that he valued both characters, noting their compatibility with Theocean, and that moderation was key. The office lady concluded that Genshin's behavior matched expectations. The university student agreed but asked about Nayu and her classmate. The office lady summarized that both discussions involved gains and losses. The university student pointed out that the only notable detail was Hikachi's birthday next week. Hikachi recalled his birthday and wondered if Nayu's fell on the same day. Nayu suspected Hikachi's birthday might be near her own. The office lady and manager realized both birthdays were around the same time, considering it exciting. The office lady guessed they were not on the exact day and wondered if either had noticed. The manager anticipated buying a cake, imagining the fun to come. The next day, both Neijin and Hikachi were lost in thought. She told herself that if even Hikachi was studying that day, then she could do the same. Hikachi, glancing her way, wondered if they had already begun calling each other by name in their hearts, and whether Nayu was also preparing for her finals. The manager wondered aloud if both of them were studying that day. A university student observed that proper time had to be given for finals. An office lady smiled, recalling memories of her own exam days. Neijin noticed vocabulary cards in Hikachi's hands and suspected he was preparing for English. Hikachi saw her materials and thought she was focused on world history. Sitting side by side with her made him feel as though they were classmates, even though they attended different schools, and he could sense her warmth and happiness in that moment. The manager chuckled at the sight, imagining them studying hard. Later in the library, the office lady compared it to a classic unrequited love scene, picturing a crush studying shoulder to shoulder. The university student doubted that anyone could actually concentrate in such a situation. Hikachi told himself to stop thinking strange thoughts and focus. The office lady noted there was no reason they couldn't concentrate, while the manager remarked that the morning promised to be entertaining to watch. Despite his efforts, Hikachi found himself unable to concentrate. He grew frustrated, forgetting vocabulary meanings, and reminded himself that he needed to perform well in the finals after his poor midterm results. Noticing that Neujin's textbook matched his own school's, he asked if different schools used the same one. Realizing they might be in the same grade made him happy, and he considered the possibility of quizzing each other for study. He caught himself getting carried away and lightly slapped his face. The office lady remarked that he was distracted by Nayu. The university student noted that he seemed more focused on her than on his vocabulary card, and the manager encouraged him. The office lady questioned whether sitting next to someone could really disrupt focus that much. The university student explained it as similar to the morning effect, where mimicry or shared activity fosters closeness, and here the reversed effect was making them feel more connected. The office lady was surprised, and the university student concluded that they were nearly intimately connected at that moment. An old man nearby muttered that such a thing was remarkable. The two sat there, their closeness quietly growing. The office lady teased the university student about his constant theories. Hikachi covered his ears, determined to block distractions. Closing his eyes, he took deep breaths until he calmed. The university student guessed he planned to use headphones for focus, and the office lady approved of the idea. Hikachi resolved to think only of vocabulary, grammar, and math. His focus began sharpening until a faint scent, likely Nayu's shampoo, broke his concentration completely. The office lady noticed his sudden shift, but the manager suggested his focus had slipped again. The university student claimed ignorance. The office lady admired Nayu's apparent focus, though the university student revealed she was actually checking herself in a mirror. Neujin, in truth, wasn't studying, feeling there was little point in working that day. The university student referenced earlier embarrassing incidents, and the manager remarked that she seemed even less focused than Hikachi. Both tried to appear serious, but their focus crumbled. The office lady predicted failure at this rate, and the university student called it the most distracting environment possible. The office lady wondered if they would become a couple too distracted to pass exams, despite not even being together. The manager likened it to study tricks involving colored sheets. The office lady recalled red and green ones without remembering their name, and a university student pointed out they still seemed unwilling to give up. Hikachi straightened, refusing to be like someone else who had blamed bad grades on being distracted by Neujin. He knew they would never attend the same school or be classmates, but the thought of doing his best while she sat beside him fueled his determination. The university student predicted they would help each other shine, and the office lady said they were already lighting each other up. The manager joked that the light was from the colored sheets. Both Hikachi and Neo flushed. Neo apologized for reflecting the light, and Hikachi returned the apology. The university student noted they hadn't given up, while the office lady doubted anything further would happen. Their faces remained warm with embarrassment. The office lady remarked on the enjoyment of watching them, and the manager agreed. Meanwhile, Neujin's thoughts turned inward. She reflected on simply sitting and studying with him, wondering if she had distracted him. She worried about the possibility of causing him to fail, given they attended different schools and she hadn't concentrated herself. Hikachi told her they should both do their best for the exam. She was caught off guard and began to respond, but he waved goodbye and left before she could finish. Walking away, he felt energized, realizing that simply being next to someone studying hard had been motivating. Observers seemed surprised at their exchange. Neujin, smiling faintly, thought that his words would indeed push her to give her all. The office lady questioned whether others had heard his parting words. The manager admitted it had been distracting him from his own work. The university student asked in exasperation to stop receiving messages during a lecture. Neujin quietly promised herself she would do her very best for the exam. Another morning arrived, and Hikachi checked his phone. Around the same moment, the office lady expressed a sense that something might happen today. The university student shared that feeling, noting their boy had even spoken to Neo the previous evening. The manager observed that, compared to a few months earlier, the boy had matured considerably. Hikachi internally questioned how everyone concerned seemed able to grow closer to the person beside them, and wondered why his lucky item happened to be someone skilled at bad timing. While he thought this, all three sensed a change in the air. Neo silently felt certain that something was going to happen today. Hikachi resolved to greet Shiz that morning with a simple good morning, reminding himself to stay natural, just like the day before. He decided slow and steady would be the best approach, starting with a daily greeting. He reasoned it was not as though they had never spoken before, so this much was within reach. Soon after, he reassured himself that he was already on the way to the station and capable of following through. For others, such an action might seem small, yet such small steps sometimes require great courage and can alter one's world unexpectedly. Upon spotting her, he encouraged himself by remembering it was only a greeting, urging himself to take the first step because even a long journey begins with one. He took a breath, ready to greet her, but instead of finding Naya beside him, he unexpectedly faced the old man Genshin, who cheerfully returned a morning greeting and praised the pleasant start to the day. Hikachi froze, feeling as though this scene had occurred before. Genshin was a gamer who appeared casual but was in fact extraordinary, albeit cursed with terrible timing. The manager remarked that the boy was trying to show his best smile, while the office lady noted Nayu and Genshin were back in familiar positions, making it seem nothing would happen after all. The university student, however, suspected that, given it was Genshin, something might still occur. Meanwhile, Nayu considered that a Cancer was not usually so confident and wondered about his birthday. The office lady speculated that if it were the boy's birthday, both Nayu and Genshin would be interested. The university student pointed out that Genshin's timing was not always bad. Yet just as frustration spread and faces twisted with odd expressions, another of Nayu's classmates arrived, also at the wrong moment. Someone remarked about this additional instance of bad timing, and the group froze again upon seeing her. The classmate noted that the same boy sat next to Nayu again and recalled past incidents involving a love question and an idle birdie topic, asking what he would do this time. Looking at Nayu, he admitted curiosity, but also mentioned the boy was sitting beside him. She struggled over which conversation to focus on while feeling unable to ignore the classmate. The office lady, wearing a creepy expression, wished one of them could come back another day. The university student commented that both newcomers were smiling brightly. The manager complained about not hearing Genshin clearly, but the university student insisted priority lay with Nayu and her classmate, even though he had little choice in the matter. He then muttered that the old man and the boy were surely discussing games. Hikachi reflected that love felt like not understanding his own feelings at times. The office lady became curious and questioned what was happening. The manager noticed something different about Genshin, prompting the university student to shift focus to him and the boy. Hikachi then glanced at Nayu, causing her classmate to ask what was wrong with him and why he looked at her that way, before expressing gladness at meeting her on the train but admitting uncertainty about facing it at that moment. Nayu wondered if something had happened between the boy and her friend. The friend recalled thinking he always knew what he wanted, but realizing during lunch the other day that seeing Nayu had made him unsure of himself. This revelation frustrated the office lady, who thought he had been infatuated with the boy instead. The university student hoped he was not secretly in love with Nayu. The friend confessed to having felt that way for some time, explaining he had always been a mushroom enthusiast, but after watching her eat bamboo shoots, felt inspired to start eating them again. The office lady bluntly suggested he simply do so. This prompted everyone to react with strange, comedic expressions. The office lady then insisted on returning attention to the conversation between Genshin and the boy. The manager commented that even Genshin seemed torn between mushrooms and bamboo shoots. The university student admitted he might have given up right there if the subject were love. Genshin observed that sometimes one reaches a crossroads and must decide which they love more. Nayu's classmate brought up the boy's upcoming birthday and asked which he preferred. Upon hearing the word birthday, the university student sought clarification, still thinking the talk was about snacks. The office lady concluded Genshin was simply putting great effort into being foolish. The university student agreed but still considered the conversation between him and the boy the more significant one. Akachi stated he did not understand the rush, preferring to proceed slowly but realizing the changing season might rob him of his chance to see her again, so he needed to act soon. Everyone thought of him as a genuinely good person. Akachi then mentioned considering working an extra hour for more money. Genshin patted his head kindly, understanding the panic that came from watching others advance, assuring him he had endured the same feelings before. Akachi felt deeply surprised and moved. Genshin then revealed they had been speaking about a game, specifically the thrill of gacha. Akachi stressed the urgency of a time-limited drop, explaining his fondness for two compatible characters and advising moderation in drawing geisha. The office lady concluded it was simply Genshin being himself. The university student acknowledged this but questioned what was happening with Nayu and her classmate. The office lady summed up both conversations as mixtures of saving and missing. The university student remarked that the main takeaway was the boy's birthday being next week. Akachi remembered his birthday and wondered if Nayu's might fall on the same date. She similarly thought she had missed the exact date but suspected it could be his. Both the office lady and manager grew excited upon realizing their birthdays were close together. The office lady noted they probably were not on the exact same day but wondered if either had realized it yet. Questioning what might happen, the manager enthusiastically announced intentions to buy a cake, anticipating that the birthdays would be fun. Another day dawned, and the office atmosphere carried a faint hum of casual chatter. At one desk, an office lady leaned slightly toward her friend, her voice low but laced with curiosity as she wondered aloud whether the boy they both knew might be out searching for a birthday present for Nayu. Her friend, a university student, shook her head gently, doubting it. She reasoned that the boy had probably realized that his relationship with Nayu had not yet progressed to the point where such a gesture would be appropriate. Not far away, the manager, who had been quietly listening, joined the conversation with a smile. She disagreed with the university student's assessment, stating that distance did not matter in such things. What counted most were the feelings behind the act. She typed her comment with quick, decisive taps, as if her belief needed to be recorded firmly in the flow of the discussion. The office lady nodded slightly in acknowledgement but still maintained a cautious stance. She admitted the boy was probably aware that he and Nayu were not especially close, yet she pointed out that sometimes people gave gifts that far exceeded the actual closeness of their relationships. To illustrate her point, she spoke of those who made Valentine's chocolates for someone they had never even spoken to. The university student offered her own example, saying it was like buying 2 concert tickets for someone one had never actually gone out with before. The manager found this amusing and, with a soft laugh, imagined a far bolder scenario, presenting someone with a ring without even being in a relationship. The image of such a gesture lingered in the group for a moment before the office lady ended the discussion with a confident note. She was certain the boy would indeed get Nayu a present, closeness or not. When Nayu's birthday finally arrived, the air seemed unusually bright, as though the day itself carried an extra sense of occasion. People moved about with more cheer than usual, their voices just a little lighter. Hikachi, standing among them, noticed the lively mood and felt a faint ripple of surprise. One of his friends began speaking in an animated tone, recounting a recent experience at a supermarket. He swore the clerk there had shown interest in him, explaining with great seriousness that it was all in the way she had smiled and handed back his change. According to him, this was no ordinary customer service, it was a sign. Another friend rolled his eyes and dismissed the idea as nothing more than the clerk doing her job well. Hikachi chuckled at the exchange. To him, it seemed bold, perhaps even reckless, to think of making a move and preparing a gift for someone after a single meeting. His friend, however, remained unfazed. He declared that without trying, one would never know the outcome, and he urged that a gift should be given to someone special whenever possible. Another friend chimed in, agreeing wholeheartedly and calling the present perfect for someone important, praising the intention behind it. Listening quietly, Naoujin admitted that she herself could never bring herself to do such a thing. Even if she could afford it, she simply wouldn't have the courage. Her words hung in the air for a moment before the conversation moved on. One of Hikachi's companions, who had been the source of much of the day's speculation, turned inward for a moment. With Nayu's birthday just ahead, he reflected that their relationship was not at a stage where he could reasonably give her a gift. He even wondered how he would have known her birthday in the first place. He certainly could not admit the truth that he had overheard it during one of her conversations with a friend, so he kept his thoughts to himself, sitting just behind her and listening in silence. Realizing how pointless his musings were, Hikachi gave himself a light slap on the cheek, reminding himself that he was here to help someone else choose a present, not to get tangled in his own thoughts. The shop they entered was trendy and clearly catered to a feminine taste. Bright displays, pastel tones, and neatly arranged shelves gave it a charm Hikachi had not expected. Though unfamiliar with such places, he quickly decided it was the ideal environment for finding a suitable gift. His gaze landed on a display of soft, adorable teddy bears. He noticed how Naoujin's eyes lit up as she looked at them, and memory surfaced, her mentioning once that she had wanted such a bear when talking about her idol's birthday. The recollection stirred a quiet excitement in him as he wondered which one would delight her most. Seemed like a safe and elegant choice, though he wondered if they would suit someone with a more casual sense of style. In the end, he decided such personal items might not be appropriate given their limited closeness, and he chastised himself for drifting from his main task, helping his friend. Suddenly, his friend's voice rose with excitement. He was holding a photo album, explaining that he planned to fill it with pictures of himself, and asked which image looked best. Hikachi's mind flashed red with alarm at the sheer lack of tact. He turned to another companion, hoping for backup in stopping this disaster before it began. The companion was indifferent, shrugging that it might be fine if the recipient was asked for their opinion. Hikachi strongly disagreed, sensing inevitable trouble. Another friend muttered under his breath, questioning why such an item was being considered at all. Still, Hikachi couldn't help noticing that, for all his questionable choices, his friend was genuinely putting thought into finding something meaningful. This sight made Hikachi wonder, for the first time in a focused way, what kind of gift would truly make Nae happy. When his friend asked if he had found anything himself, Hikachi hesitated. He quickly denied any intention to buy Nae a present and claimed he needed more time to think. His friend encouraged him to follow his instincts rather than constantly comparing himself to others. The words made Hikachi's cheeks warm. The possibility of giving her something no longer felt as impossible as before. Yet along with the thought came a flicker of nervousness. Quietly, he admitted to himself that he had already purchased a gift for someone important to him. The question now was whether it was the right choice. A gift, he knew, meant more than just the act of buying. It needed sincerity to carry true value. Clutching the small package tightly, Hikachi made a silent vow. This would be his heartfelt birthday gift to Nayu. Whatever the outcome, it was something he wanted to give from the heart. In that moment, he did not look like a man simply delivering a present. He looked like a soldier readying himself for a decisive battle. The morning unfolded with a sense of resolve. Hikachi woke with a single thought at the forefront of his mind. Today he would finally give the birthday gift. The decision felt simple when he imagined it the night before, but as the moment crept closer, his certainty began to waver. A flood of small questions and doubts swirled inside his head, each one making the act seem harder than it should have been. He considered handing it to Naeujin just before leaving the train. That moment, right before stepping off, seemed ideal at first, quick, decisive, and without lingering awkwardness. But almost immediately, he imagined the station at that time, the bustle of passengers, the rush of feet, the loud clamor of departure announcements. In such chaos, it would be hard to make the moment feel special. The idea soured in his mind, and he discarded it. Then another thought surfaced. Was it even right to give the gift early in the morning? It struck him as potentially awkward, especially given how little they truly knew each other. Receiving something personal from someone barely familiar, right at the start of the day, might catch her off guard in the wrong way. That image made his chest tighten. Yet even as he thought of postponing it, Hikachi scolded himself. These were excuses, and he knew it. He had promised himself he would do it no matter what. The station, the timing, the circumstances. None of it should matter if he truly wanted to give the gift. The manager, listening in, recalled the cheerful expression on the girl's face when she had received her gift, though he added that she still had an intimidating air about her. An office lady joined the conversation, suggesting that her behavior might be a mask for embarrassment. The university student noted that another boy nearby seemed like he had been preparing to give a present too. The office lady shook her head, saying that after what just happened, he probably couldn't bring himself to do it. The manager, however, dismissed that idea with a spark of enthusiasm, saying he was looking forward to the moment. The student hesitated, not entirely convinced. Akachi stood frozen, locked in an inner battle. Why was he letting all this affect him? He had sworn he would give the gift, no matter what. Even if morning wasn't the ideal time, it might be his only real opportunity. But as he thought that, a voice emerged in his mind, Ms. Chen's voice. He imagined her saying that giving a gift to someone you barely knew was risky, even desperate, as though shouting, "Look at me, I have no dating experience." The image made his pulse spike. Sitting so close to Naojin, the weight of that imagined criticism became unbearable. Could he really do it now? A voice nearby suddenly broke through his spiraling thoughts, telling someone to stop discouraging him. The accusation hung in the air. She was just trying to scare him. Chen's friend added that while she often thought about other people's feelings, she overthought so much that it clouded her awareness of everything else. That struck something inside Hikachi. In that instant, he realized his feelings were genuine. He wasn't just being polite or kind. He truly cared, and because of that, he didn't want to make a mistake. An office lady nearby agreed, saying that this was the essence of love. But his friend questioned that sentiment, asking if it really was love. Chen likened it to holding someone's heart in your hand. Another chimed in, remarking that Chen had always been this way. Akachi, listening, understood the joy that came from having someone dear to you. Chen's tone shifted as she pointed out that even adults should not get overly excited over trivial things. The words dimmed the mood, leaving the manager and office lady visibly deflated. She went on to explain further. When someone you barely know declares affection, it can be unsettling. A gift should follow a bond strong enough to justify it. Otherwise, it's a shock to the recipient. If someone wants to give something, they should first build the relationship to a place where it feels natural. Hearing this, her cheeks flushed slightly. Akachi's friends teased him, suggesting things looked promising. She quickly denied it, telling them not to look at her face. The student concluded her reaction was likely embarrassment. Someone else wondered what the true reason behind her attitude was. The manager questioned why put up such emotional walls, while another voice remarked that her childhood days were well behind her. Akachi's mind drifted back to the earlier scene of the boy and his girlfriend. The image only deepened his regret. He still hadn't given his gift to Naojin. What expression would she have worn if he had? The question lingered painfully, but he refused to let the regret linger without action. He gave himself a quick, sharp slap to the cheeks as if to reset his resolve. Tomorrow would be a fresh chance, and tomorrow he would act. This time he would succeed. The rumble of the approaching train grew louder, pulling him from his thoughts. As it arrived, he stepped aboard, clutching the gift firmly in his hand. The resolve was there, solid, unshaken. And then fate seemed to test him immediately. Standing right before him was Naojin herself. His heartbeat surged into a frantic rhythm, and heat rose to his face. The gift in his grip suddenly felt heavier. The manager and the office lady exchanged quick, knowing glances, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. The university student, catching the moment, remarked with a grin that tomorrow would be the day. Tomorrow, without a doubt, Hikachi would finally hand over the present.